Good Wednesday night. I am Thabo Mdluli. We come in tonight as Correctional Services is conducting a raid at the Johannesburg Correctional Facility this evening. The search is aimed at rooting out the smuggling of contraband within the prison. A viral video on social media has recently ignited a heated discussion about the living conditions and privileges afforded to prisoners in South Africa. Katleho, Sekhotho back with us. And of course, Katleho, the search continues. What are we learning?
A very good evening, Mr. Mdluli. Indeed, here the search operations being brought outside of the buildings, or still inside the Correctional Service Facility. And this is the one in Meerdale, so the Joburg Center, but popularly known as Sun City. And now I just want to show you here what's happening behind me. A number of the inmates, their bedding being brought out and individual beds being checked. As you can see, officials actually dismantling some of the mattresses and trying to check inside pillows if any contraband is being kept by any of the inmates. And this is part of the officials' search raid to check that inmates are adhering to the law and are not keeping anything that they should not have on them. And earlier on, the inmates actually lined up against the wall and their bodies checked as well. And so the officials now checking actually the things that they keep with them, their personal belongings, to check that nothing that is in here is goods that have been smuggled or anything that they should not have with them. And so, Mr. Mdluli, we spoke to the National Correctional Services Facility Commissioner, earlier on, who actually outlined that incredibly disappointed by the social media video that went viral just a few days ago of an inmate really bragging about their living conditions and that they have 3 meals a day and they live very well and they are afforded a number of privileges. And I guess the widespread outcry of the public was, one, you have an inmate who has a social media account with thousands of followers. And secondly, you have an inmate then posting on social media and actually then bragging about their living conditions. So certainly a ramping up by the Correctional Services Department in their raids, but also perhaps in just inviting the media into a space like this one in attempts to perhaps shed some transparency as to what happens within South Africa's correctional service facilities. And the commissioner there also outlining that when there is a rise, I guess, of smuggled goods or inmates having access to goods that they shouldn't have, this interrupts the inmates' ability to rehabilitate. And this is this hinders them being able to be rehabilitated and then go back into society following, the offenses that they've committed. I just want to show you here the commissioner just apprehending or speaking to an inmate about the things that he had on him. I just want to show you there, my colleague in Jabulo just trying to zoom in there as to what exactly the inmate has on him. So yes, these are the interventions being made by the department, definitely trying to find a solution to a challenge that they're facing. As you can see there, Mr. Mdluli, in the background, dogs barking, the canine unit still out here as well. So, Mr. Mdluli, certainly the raid continuing, is still continuing with the commissioner here present. And as he said, they're trying to wage this war against contraband within South Africa's prisons and looking to win this war.
And Katleho, what happens, when they find a prisoner in possession of
So the commissioner did explain that this means the inmate is further charged for having that contraband, and this actually affects the inmate's ability to rehabilitate, but also when it comes to time for discussions of parole, if there was a time when contraband was found on an inmate or in their belongings, then this affects an inmate's ability to be granted parole. So very long-term and short-term consequences, as was explained by the commissioner, and something that even prevents them from moving out of the system. So dire consequences if contraband is found on an inmate. As you can see there, Mr. Mdluli, the official, they're opening up specific plastics in the inmates' possessions, just checking what it is exactly. It seems to be some kind of a powder, not too sure what that is. Checking individual clothing, checking blankets. And as we've heard from the commission, I mean, we're talking about 5,000 inmates at this one facility. So quite a lot of people to go through in terms of checking individually their bedding, their possessions, their clothing, and everything else that is in their personal belongings. So definitely, Mr. Mdluli, the search continues on this evening. Officials actually stripping apart bedding because sometimes contraband can be hidden quite deeply within mattresses and making it difficult to find. And if you recall, the commissioner also there really making a plea to loved ones of inmates to be careful in their actions and to not engage in criminal activity because they themselves can be charged for smuggling contraband to an inmate and then find themselves within the criminal justice system. So really making a plea to loved ones' communities to be vigilant and to be careful and to really not engage in any kind of criminal activity of giving contraband to inmates.
Now, as this search is conducted there, Katleho, on the outside, is there more operations that are carrying on inside the prison itself?
Well, what we know is that this is the main area in which the officials are actually bringing out the personal belongings of each inmate. Not too aware that there's another search at this facility, no. So for now, this is where it's all happening. Individual inmates being brought out, seated against the wall. And this is where the search is happening in terms of just checking their personal belongings. As you can see, the K9 unit is very active here. Just want to bring you back inside here, where the search inside is also continuing. As you can see, though, as well, quite a number of bunk beds here, very closely packed together. It just illustrates the number of inmates who can, live in one space and making it very difficult because each person has their own personal belongings. So the search being very difficult and just trying to check that no one is breaking the law. So quite a number of inmates in one big room like this. I mean, these are dozens of beds. And officials checking each one. All right, Mr. Mdluli, that's what we have for now, and the raid definitely continuing this evening.